Every kind of peaceful cooperation among men is primarily based on mutual trust, and only secondly on institutions like courts of justice and police. This holds for nations as well as for individuals, and the basis of trust is loyal give and take.
Have you ever felt dominated by an ideology or group? Or that expressing your truth can lead to social ostracism? These are some of the manifestations of Pluto in the 11th house. Where Pluto is located, we will experience a process of transformation as involuntarily as the one that occurs to the caterpillar during its transmutation into a butterfly. Pluto's position in the birth chart indicates the personal evolutionary path that we all go through. Although many times we are not aware of it, this process has been activated since the first day of our birth. Many times the energy of Pluto can be found in the control we exercise over certain aspects of our behavior. It is not that Pluto means control, rather it is our fear of allowing Plutonian energy to flow that triggers the desire to control it. Pluto simply awakens ancestral and even soul memories from remote pasts that are stored in our physical and cosmic DNA. These memories condition the present life and need to be released in order to recover other hidden treasures that we have inherited from our ancestors. In order to flow together with Pluto, we need to dare to feel the impulses of the unconscious and give them consciousness. This is not easy because it is not something that we are taught in school. In fact, many of the drives that come from our instinctive self become compulsions because for cultural and other reasons, we try to keep them hidden, even from ourselves. The secret with Pluto is not to act on what awakens, but to feel it, to observe it. Pluto brings to the surface energies that have been stored for generations and are now ready to be transformed. However, they remain unknown to us, and in many cases they terrify us. Therefore, in general, we repress them for a long time until they break through, generating some kind of crisis. Pluto is a very slow planet. It takes 248 years to go around the zodiac and stays in each sign between 12 and 31 years. Although the transformation process is individual, the way we go through it is shared by a large number of people. Basically, we are not alone when facing the force of the unconscious. The individuals of the same Plutonian generation develop something in common, which allows the evolutionary process to be lived together, while each one has the experience from their own unique perspective. The astrological house where Pluto is located shows us the particular area of existence where we experience transformation. The sign shows us how we approach it. The difference between the natal position and the transit of Pluto is that the natal position indicates the area of life where our evolution will focus, while the transit activates temporary processes that assist our evolutionary path. In the 10th house, we saw that we discovered what the call of our being is. In the 11th house, we now see the groups we form to carry out our ideas. In the 11th house, we meet organically with those with whom we share similar ideas and a similar vision of the future. Here we find our community. With Pluto in the 11th house, our evolutionary path demands that we transform the way we form or join groups and ideologies of any kind. It is possible that in our DNA there are ancestral memories and even soul memories of submission to political ideas or closed, hidden, and strongly controlling groups. In our present, we find ourselves with a strong survival instinct in these areas, and at the same time, we have a great desire to transform the future and to join others in order to achieve it. Pluto in the 11th house indicates that we have the ability to see the hidden motivations or personal agenda that bring people together to make some social transformation. However, we might avoid speaking our truth so as not to fall into ostracism. The thing to remember is that despite being able to live in a situation of ideological subjugation, the reality is nothing more than a reflection of our own ancestral conditioning, and that because of it, we gravitate towards situations where our inner truth remains somehow suppressed. The question is, are we really trapped in this ideology or group that does not allow us to follow our own ideas, or is there something within us that seeks this submission? When we talk about submission to a group, we can refer either to religious or political sects, or to a group of friends who prefer to go to the bar while we prefer to be studying at home to finish our thesis, and yet we follow the group. With Pluto in the 11th house, the resilience of our being is strongly linked to the ability to join others, to form a network. Being part of a group gives us personal power. Many times we are going to have some kind of crisis to understand to what extent group energy can make us forget our own inner truth. Since the beginning of civilization, staying in a group greatly increases the chances of survival. When Pluto is in the 11th house, our instinct is activated in this sense. Submission or resistance to the will of the group is a behavior that can arise automatically and needs transformation when Pluto is in this astrological house. What we have come to transform now is our group mantra. What is going to be? Transform the future for the good of all, or follow a personal agenda, ours or some other leaders? The power of Pluto in the 11th house is an enormous capacity for progress and for transforming in some way our community. To achieve this, it is necessary to be connected with our own truth, with our ideas. When our strength is focused on an ideal to which we feel deeply committed, the Plutonian ability to see what is really happening and face what few dare to see transforms and generates progress. Daring not to follow an ideology blindly and to use the psychological capacity of Pluto in the 11th house to transform the dynamics of the groups to which we belong can really lead us to build a better world. Depending on the sign Pluto is in, our style will be different, but in all cases the commitment to an ideal is total. The secret to going through this position is to let the emotions that arise when we are part of a group flow within us, This will help us to understand how the gregarious nature of human beings works and find healthy ways of networking. The transformation that Pluto indicates in this position is based on evolving the part of us that is strongly linked to tribalism and that perhaps is somewhat outdated. Forming groups to create a society more in line with our current needs, where we are moving towards a more inclusive community, implies the work of Pluto in the 11th house. In itself, it is a very strong position and requires a lot of courage, but those who have it own it.
The effect upon all nations, and not least upon the Germans, of the fate of these innocent people, so maliciously persecuted, must not be underestimated. To leave these victims to their misery would be a heavy blow to all those who believe in human solidarity and would encourage those who believe only in force and oppression and who act accordingly.